everybody. It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios, and I know you are all here for another amazing episode of what? Security Happy Hour. That's right. I got a big show planned. I got an amazing guest this evening, and you know what? I even brought a co-host tonight. Why? Because he's amazing too, and he said he wanted to join the show, so we're just going to have him on as well. But otherwise, look, hey, I got a big show planned. It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a great show, and if you give me about 10 seconds, I promise I'll be right back. And we're back. And look, yes, it is me, the Cyber Warrior. With me this evening, I have a co-host this evening, and that is the one, the only, InfoSec Pat. Everybody cheer for InfoSec Pat. Applause, applause, applause. Thank you for joining.
No, thank you for having me.
Have Reanna. Reanna, thank you for joining this evening. It's going to be an amazing show. I love having you here. I got to say, this was like weeks in advance we planned this.
Yeah.
Which is rare for me. Not many people do that.
I was like, who is this? And how dare he message me at like an obscure time that afternoon?
But no, thank you for joining. First and foremost, the first question I ask everybody that comes on this show, what got you into cybersecurity?
Well, my journey's pretty interesting. I wouldn't say it's anything fancy. You know, I hear some people were like PE teachers or, you know, music theorists. I'm not that cool. Kind of my upbringing, I am from the Kansas City area, and I grew up in a very, very small town. I had no stoplights, I had no turn lanes, and I actually had to drive 2 towns over to go to a decent grocery store. And there was a Taco Bell, so I always thought it was super fancy when we had Taco Bell because we never had Taco Bell. But one thing that I took out of, you know, growing up in a small area like that is we didn't really have STEM. We didn't have engineering or anything like that. In fact, my only computer class was a typing class, which is kind of funny now because, you know, kids these days, I feel like, you know, by the age of 6 months, they're already typing at 80 words per minute kind of thing. But what my school did have is career day, and they had a state highway patrolman show up. And I was like, holy cow. I was like, this is what I want to do when I grow up. I want to have a cool police car. I want to enforce the law. These guys are super passionate about like all of this stuff. I want to grow up and be like them and be excited with what I do in my work. And I went to college and I was doing criminal justice. And I realized that is absolutely not my thing. I thought it was completely boring. I could not focus on reading cases or law or legal jargon. I was like, I'm sorry, not for me at all. And around that time, I started getting into bodybuilding. I did weightlifting for a bit. And, you know, I was really interested in that. And I thought to myself, this is what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about working out and lifting and, you know, coaching people on different weights and stuff like that. And I said, I'm going to go into physical therapy. And I go into physical therapy. And I take an anatomy class, and I don't know if you guys had taken anatomy, you know, growing up or in your studies. And my final exam, they had a physical foot, and that had different flags. You're supposed to name the bones of the foot. I could not, again, study for this. I thought it was boring. It was just a bunch of memorizing. And some people enjoy it. It was not for me. And so my final exam, I put big toe, middle toe, and pinky toe. And unlike the paper,
I look big toe, index toe, middle toe, ring toe, pinky toe.
And unlike my final exam paper, I wrote the little piggies went to the market. I already knew I was failing this class. You might as well go out with a bang, right?
I mean, that's how we do it around here, you know? If I'm going to go out, look, that's the thing, right? If I'm going to do anything, I'm going full throttle. It's all in or none at all. That's just how we do things around here.
I should have brought my colored pencils and actually drew a pig. But But one thing that I was taking a class in, because when you go to college, you have to take elective courses, and one of them was a technology course. I had signed up for Python programming. I knew nothing about programming. I knew nothing about computers, and I fell in love with this class. And I thought it was interesting, right? Because to me, I was very passionate about, working out. Anatomy wasn't my thing. But one thing that I did realize was how passionate I was about computers. And I really enjoyed the STEM side of things. You were able to problem solve in different ways compared to, law cases. When you're reading it, this is the law, this is straightforward. Anatomy, right? This is straightforward. It's this bone or this bone kind of thing. But with programming, you're finding all of these different solutions to a problem. And I liked that challenge. I really enjoyed that. So I went ahead and transitioned into computer science. And I was 2 years in my program. I was pursuing more of like web app development types of stuff. And they had dropped cybersecurity as a degree of choice. I had no idea what cybersecurity was. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That sounds like a fancy word to me. My advisor's like, why don't you just take a couple of the classes? It's towards your major. You're not gonna, be pushed back to graduation. And I was like, okay, lady, sure. If you insist on this, why not?
If you're saying so, let's do it.
I was like, you're the professional here, so I'll take your word for it. So I went in and I actually enjoyed this. Again, I had no idea what cybersecurity was. I heard of spam calls, and that was the extent to my knowledge.
So when did you get your degree? Not the whole like push ahead or anything, but like what years were you in school? Just so I'm aware.
Yeah, I was in college from 2015 to 2018.
That explains it, because there was no cybersecurity, InfoSec, or anything in my curriculum back when I went through school. So that's why I was wondering.
And of course now, like I teach college on the side, and it's like completely different from when I was a student. Like there's ChatGPT, and like I was scrolling on Reddit or computer blogs, and I'm like trying to find like that one answer to your like homework, and you're like, come on, man, I know you guys did this somewhere else. But yeah, no, I fell in love with it. I learned a lot of things like about Tor browsers, the dark web, hackers. And I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, as a programmer, you are creating essential computer art and someone is making it do something else for their benefit. And I said, sign me up for this. I'm sold, completely switching my major. And that's essentially how I got into the field.
That's interesting to me. And Pat, me and you are of the same breed, right? We came up the same way. We're both the same age. And so when I look at things like this, like I came up, and when I went through school, it was I graduated 2004. So like 2005 is when I started my degree. I graduated in 2009. Mm-hmm. I only had IT. There was computer science, or when I switched to Cal U, it was computer information systems.
Yep.
And so it was networking, and it was like sysadmin. And so for cybersecurity to be part of it, and Pat, I don't know that you didn't have any type of security in your program at all.
No, not undergrad.
Any college or anything you've ever done?
Not undergrad.
No.
So I graduated the same year. I started in 2000. I graduated high school in 2004 and started my program in 2005. Yeah.
Me too. So like cybersecurity wasn't a thing, right? We had InfoSec, right? It was just coming around as InfoSec was the original term.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at it, like it's hard for me to comprehend where we're at, because security, viruses and malware had been a thing since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being on AOL and my buddy sending me a punter. Literally, I was so pissed at him because it takes forever to get online, and he kicked me off. And I was like, you asshole.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. How active were you with LimeWire?
Oh dude, so, all right. Hold up. LimeWire and Napster weren't the worst of it for me. The worst of it, see, I like to explore malware. I used to like to download it purposely to see what it would do to my machine. And I've told this story a while ago, I was on another podcast. I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
And I was real big in MySpace. And so MySpace, there were all those profiles of like, oh, download this to view this profile. And so I built my computer myself. I was running Windows Vista. This is still at the time that Vista was around. And dude, this thing was built to the 9. I had like 16 to 32 gigs of RAM in it that it didn't need. Well, it was Vista Ultimate, so maybe it needed it. I had a terabyte hard drive. Like, this thing was loaded. And I was like, cool. I want to see what this virus does. I knew what it was. I knew it was a virus. Downloaded it. And then, of course, the UAC pops up, right? The user access control. Do you want to run this? Fuck yeah.
Absolutely.
The worst mistake I could have ever made in my life. It was like a pop-up, like logic bomb. I always forget the terminology behind all the different bombs and viruses. But basically, it was pop-up after pop-up after pop-up. Like, literally, just ran. And I'm sitting there hitting, what was it? To bring up the task manager and shit. So I'm trying to bring up sysconfig or msconfig to disable on startup this new virus that I started, because I knew the moment I rebooted my system, it was going to pop up. So I got to disable it before I reboot. Yo, it was a pain in the ass. I don't think I ever removed it. I think I eventually rebuilt the system for my sister, because I gave her that computer when I built a new one. But I had to redo the entire operating system because I just disabled it completely and was like, you're never going to run again, but I'm not going to go through the hassle of fucking removing you, because I don't even think any antivirus out there can remove it.
I heard someone say this on a security podcast, and I laughed for the longest time over it. And you see these videos with glitter bombs and, you know, all that stuff. And someone's all like, the original glitter bomb was the logic bomb. You know?
It was.
It was.
Yep. Look, I'm sorry. Being in the middle of, like, I don't know, and we talk about Napster and LimeWire and Kazaa and all these other ones, torrents and shit like that. Being on a dial-up connection, downloading something, and then your buddy being like, and you're gone. And you're like, you mother.
And it wasn't instant. It was time consuming, you know?
Like, to just be there and then all of a sudden, you out. Like, you know, and then your sister would pick up the phone, like, as you're trying to dial back in. Like, come on.
These kids that play Fortnite these days, they have no idea.
I want to download this picture of, like, I don't know, freaking the chick from Boy Meets World. You know, I just want to download a picture of her. Why are you kicking me off the internet? Leave me alone. But no, it happened. And so when we look at security, it has been around forever. But the problem we have in this industry, and we'll get into the soft skills and the whole premise of our whole conversation, but the problem to this industry, and Pat, tell me whether you agree or disagree, same with you with Reanna, the everything is built with enablement and does it work in mind, not security.
Yep.
I agree.
Like that's just, I looked back, I did an entire research paper for my undergrad. And actually, I think I did a different one, but basically the same in my graduate degree that I never finished with DARPANet and just the history of cybersecurity and things like that. When you look at the entire World Wide Web, when you look at security as a whole, everything was designed with, let's make data flow. Let's not secure data. Let's just make data flow. And I think that has been our problem, is we still do that to this day.
Yep. And a lot of the times, like, especially even like with security tools and stuff, sometimes they'll just deploy it, right? And they're so focused on the user experience side of things, which is important, right? But then it's like, how can we start incorporating that user experience with security? And I always like to use cars, for example, right? Like, cars make things go, but then we realize we need seat belts. Okay, now we have that. And then we translate today, We have self-driving cars. We have blind sensors. We have backup cameras, to stop preventing those security incidents. We're still providing that user experience, but then now we're putting this, in day-to-day tech. How can we start, allowing that data flow, still keep the user experience, and let security kind of be that back-end mechanism where, it's a nice little even balance.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, look, my favorite feature of any car is the blind spot sensor, because there's been too many times. Look, I'm one of those dads, like if you've ever seen those videos of like if a guy puts his arm around the back of the seat and looks back and just drives, like I've seen those videos, and like I'm that guy. Like I have a backup camera, and to this day I will still be like, yep, I'm out. And I can control a vehicle. But let somebody be in my blind spot and I don't have a sensor, that dude better hit the brake, hit the gas, or he getting hit. Like that's just the way it stands, because I'm not moving. If you hit your horn, I'm sorry, it's too late by that point. You getting hit. You should have not been in my blind spot.
Like I travel a lot for conferences and stuff like that, and sometimes you might need a rental car. It's just cheaper than Ubering around kind of thing. And I always try to pay for that next tier above just to get the car with the blind sensors. And my justification for me on this is, that's why I went to college, is so I don't get the base model car. I get the one with at least the sensors and a backup camera on it.
Mm-hmm.
Never get the base model. Look, see, when I go, I'm 6'3", 230 pounds. If I'm renting a vehicle, that bitch is a truck. It's a fully loaded F-150 because that's the only trucks they have are fully loaded trucks. That's what I'm getting. I don't ever rent a car. I rent a truck. And I don't care if it costs me an extra $25 a day. That's what I'm getting because I'm way too big to be in a tiny car.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm 5'2". I'm super short. If you get like one of those souped up trucks, I feel like a toddler trying to climb into the car seat. And then I'm like, oh man, I forgot to pack my phone book. Now I can't see over the dash. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there, you're just like halfway up and you're just like, hi,
So I want to talk about the soft skills. I do want to get around to the topic that we initially planned for this, because it is vital and it's very important, and it goes back to what we were talking about off air, right? Before this show even started, when we look at resumes, when we look at how we present ourselves, those soft skills, those people skills, things are very important. And I want to hit on a topic eventually, but first I want to ask, what has been the most important soft skill or people skill you have learned throughout your time in this career field?
Honestly, talking. And it's uncomfortable. It is so uncomfortable to talk to people, or even just getting up and presenting something. And it's funny because I remember being a student, right? And you see the different types of people that are computer science or cyber or IT, whatever. Majority is introverts. And every once in a while you get this extroverts, and they always like group together and everything. But those really quiet people, you go up and you're like, hey, why a computer science major? And they're like, I don't have to talk. And then, being in the field for about 6+ years, you're like, oh man, I have to talk every single day to different people. Whether
I gotta be a people. Shit.
Or especially if you go to development, you have to talk to testers. You have to talk to like the vulnerability team. You have to talk to marketing. You have to talk to all these people, because the people that are selling the product, you're literally coding. They probably should understand what the product's doing because you're coding it. So it's very uncomfortable. And I remember when I was in that, younger stage or even fresh into corporate America, it's so daunting to even just go and ask for help. Because you're looking at these people around you and you're like, I will never be one of those people. Like, there's no way. They're smart. Like, they know what they're talking about. And then you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an idiot, like, and so you kind of get that fear established into you. And then one thing that I realized early on is you're setting yourself up for failure, not going out there and trying to just ask those basic questions like, hey, how do I do this? Right? How do I even submit my PTO for the day? That's a scary question your first week in a new employer.
Hey, I got to take PTO next week. How do I do that?
I'm not going to be here, but I don't want to get in trouble with HR. You know? But, again, right, those are scary questions. Or even students. I teach on the side. I kind of said that earlier to you guys, and it just amazes me how many students are afraid to come up and just ask basic questions with their homework, right? If you're not getting it, you're probably not the only person in the room that's having that same issue. So it's important that you talk and you collaborate. And I'm kind of transitioning that to my role. I'm on the defense side, right? So I essentially work with a team whose first eyes and ears to cyber threats happening in the business. I need them to talk. I need them to communicate, because if they don't, I can't help out in the way I need to help out if I don't know about it. So it's very, very crucial.
So in the schools that you went to, was public speaking mandatory?
Yes. And ironically, for as many, like, I do a lot of conferences, and, I'm talking to you guys now, I hated public speaking.
Pat does too. Don't let him lie to you. He may have his own show, but he hates it as well.
Hey, Pat.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I had to get used to. And because coming up in, in the tech industry, I was, prior to getting into security, I was more like a network engineer. So it's like you're just routing, switching, firewalls. You just get submitted a ticket. You're in your little command line and you're doing your thing. You never, you just have to talk to your team, saying, okay, let the person know that they can access this. This ACL is, blah, blah, blah. But, I thought getting into the world of cyber was going to be pretty much similar, right? And especially on the offensive side, it's, we all say that we all like the hack and sacking stuff, but then it's like, oh shit, now I got to write a report and then I have to debrief this and convey this to, a client. And you have to do it in two different ways, right? You have to do it, which a lot of us it's hard for us is to do it in such a non-technical aspect, right? Because we think technical terms and we were like, oh, remediation, patch this CVE or do this, do that, and the other. But it's like, oh shit, what the fuck's a CVE? You know what I mean? Like the guys, the clients are like, what is a CVE? With the speaking English. So it's like, okay,
because the cybersecurity was developed by the military.
Yeah. So it's like have those remediation plans in, forward with some, get prepared to get this to someone that's not really tech savvy. Right. And that can be a hard transition. And going back to, having your soft skills, I think that's super critical. And just going into, the next topic you guys are talking about is public speaking and maybe conferences and talks and stuff like that. But going back to the soft skills, that you don't have to step up on a podium and speak. No. Go to a little meetup, go to a local DEF CON meetups and just talk at a table.
Just sit with people and just talk,
And having that skill is definitely.
One of the things I want to add on to that though, right? So even and again, I'm one of those people, I can talk to anybody. I literally could probably sell ice to an Eskimo.
I feel like you're lying on that one now.
I have a presence that I have a social meter, right? Just like most people in cybersecurity, even your extroverts in cybersecurity. I have a social battery meter. I can only deal with people for so long. But at the end of the day, I have literally done talks. I got called the king of bullshit in high school because by my teacher, mind you, because she knew I did my research an hour before the class and then did the talk that, an hour later. And then in college, I had to do public speaking. The only reason I got a C in that class was because my teacher knew, my instructor, that I was doing it all the day of.
Yeah.
That was the only reason. It wasn't that I couldn't talk. It wasn't that I couldn't speak. Yes, I have my fidgets. I have my ways of showing my nervousness. But it's not like others. I don't necessarily stutter. I don't get caught up on words. I just talk, but you can see me moving. I'm always moving. I'm always doing something. My hand's got to be doing something in somewhere. So for me, it's a little different. I don't get nervous talking to people. I'm just nervous in general because I'm there. And I'm one of those people that even if I'm on a meeting for work, I've got to be doing something with my hands. I got to be doing something. I've told my wife, she's like, I forget what I had. I have something. And she was like, why are you doing that? I was like, because I got to be doing something with my hands. Like
Yep.
my hands have to be busy. If my hands aren't busy, we got issues. And
There's-
so
yeah.
I did public speaking in high school for I did National Foundation for the Teaching of Entrepreneurship, so NFTE. I did business plan presentations at like 15, 16 years old, talking to CEOs and business people.
Mhm.
And yet still, as long as I was walking, I was fine. Get me to stand still, we got a problem.
Yeah. And it's funny you kind of mentioned that, and I see it very common with this field. There was a psych study done, and it says like people with, you know, very high intelligence, that musicians do it, right? Where they're thinking and they're playing and they're thinking two different things essentially, right? And it's kind of similar like that in the tech field. You know, we're thinking 6 processes ahead while also thinking here in the moment. And so that's what causes that fidget, you know, almost. And if you always walk into a room or a conference, you know, especially with cyber, you see people shaking their leg and writing notes, right? And it's because they're thinking many different things at once, and they're just externalizing how they're thinking.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because whole cyber human initiative. So my boy over there, I have ADHD, and I am on the highway to look squirrel, and that's really how. Look, I've had many people on this show that ADHD, ADD, autism, all these things come into play, right? I call them superpowers, because when you get that hyper focus, when you learn to focus everything about what you're doing, you're better than everybody. I'm sorry. Anybody who looks at cybersecurity and the soft skills and things like that, and it's like, oh, this is a disability. No. It's just a superpower. You take that person and put them in their element, and they will blow you away and do better than everybody else. So let that be said, that anybody who has any type of neurodivergency, is what they call it now, whatever, call it whatever the hell you want. At the end of the day, if your mind works 1,000 miles per hour, but you give that one thing that they love and they can focus on, I'm sorry, they're better than everybody. Everybody. There ain't no one that's going to touch them. And that's just the way it is. Because at the end of the day, this is how we operate. I operate by talking to people. Because I can do this. I can go to a conference and give talks and talk to people and answer questions. I can do sales if I really wanted to. I just don't like cold calls and all the other bullshit behind it. But put me in front of a client all day. But ask me to go find a client. I'm sorry. Look, even all my girlfriends growing up were part of my friend group. Like, seriously, I had to know somebody that knew them before I got involved. Like, even my wife, my buddy was like, hey, this girl really likes you. Cool. Can you tell her I need to go on a date? Like, please? This is what I need. So, like, I'm that type of person. I'm not a cold call type of person.
Yeah.
People skills, I can do it once I know you. Yeah. But if I don't know you, well, hi, I'm going to go over here in my corner.
And just real quick, Pat had said something very interesting. I kind of want to piggyback on it, if that's okay.
The floor is yours. Go for it.
Thanks. You had mentioned kind of going from like technical terms back into layman's, right? Especially when your audience is people that probably don't understand what you're saying. Kind of translating, right? Speaking's one thing, but then also writing can be a very benefit as well, especially you're writing documentation, you're writing playbooks, you're writing processes, procedures. You know, it's essential to that kingdom of success, especially if you bring on new people, you know, people come and go. That documentation is going to be the tribal knowledge of everything that was left behind. And one of the things that I have been kind of promoting lately, and people are like, I don't know how to pass my knowledge down. You know, like I feel like I'm very high level. And we always work at that one person that I feel like speaks a completely different language. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. There's always that one person, you know, it's just like, you are awesome. And I have no idea what you're saying, but you're very passionate with what you're saying. And I'm here for it. And then they turn to write documentation. You're all like, this is awesome. I have no idea what you wrote either. And one of the things that I kind of encourage people now, because you want, their thinking put on pen and paper, so that way other people can start learning from it and growing into those bigger roles. Take that documentation and give it to your entry level person. Give it to maybe your intern. And if your intern can't understand it, this is also challenging those soft skills with your very technical people on learning how to step it down, because now you're bringing in those mentorship skills at a different level. And plus, it's also allowing those entry level folk to start communicating with those more seasoned people and allowing them to learn and think, understand how they're thinking in that process as well. So yeah, that's something I wanted to piggyback on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and same thing. I'll piggyback off that. Same thing like when you're doing like SOPs, right?
Yes.
And say, for example, if I'm creating an SOP for, let's say, back in the networking days, right? How to set up a site-to-site VPN. What is, you have to get, set up Diffie-Hellman. You have to set up site-to-site VPN. You have to set up ASCs, encryption. And you're putting this, SOP together. And you're saying, okay, like, I'm just going to set it up once, but now you want the level 1, level 2 folks to get it. And they're like, what the hell is a Diffie-Hellman? Right? Like,
who's Diffie-Hellman? I've never met that person.
Go check Diffie-Hellman, right? If you put like, and that's something to be mindful of, is like, don't always convey or don't always write something down for you to understand. Make sure that, level 1, level 2 person. And that goes back to even like speaking and teaching a topic. And that's what I got from like Keith Barker from CBT Nuggets. It's like, if you're going to learn subnetting, teach it to your mom, teach it to your dad, even though they don't know what you're talking about. But if they get a little bit of the grasp, you really know what you're talking about. You're teaching someone that doesn't know anything about, techie. And that really resonated with me. And I keep that with me all the time now. It's like, okay, if I'm, working somewhere and we have someone that's, I don't like to say lower than, but like, like on the team that's coming up and they want to learn about whatever pen testing. And we want to, we're on a internal assessment and we're running all these cool tools, and folks like you probably, oh shit, like why is Mimikatz running, why is this running, and your CrowdStrike and everything.
Normal.
Yeah. Like it's pretty normal. And, really, really conveying this to someone junior is, that process, because we can be like, oh, the methodology, capture the hash, after the hash, you can go crack map or Hashcat, and then take that Hashcat, pass it around with crackmap exec or net exec, etc. And then they're like, what is this? And so having that SOP in place for someone that doesn't really know, and for them to understand it, to make it dummy proof.
Yeah.
I think that's super, super important for those soft skills and communication to the team.
Yeah. See, what I do is I have my people doing the job do it at a Marine level. And yes, I say that as a veteran because I love making fun of Marines because I was in the Army and they're better. But besides I basically have them do screenshots, and literally I learned this not at this job, at my previous job, but how we did things like SOPs and documentation is you write it to where the most junior or most senior exec person can understand it. So literally it is line by line, step by step, screenshot by screenshot, what you can do. Yep. And yes, it is the Army's birthday today. Just for everybody to be aware, today is the Army's birthday. Hoorah. That is what we do. But it is literally line by line. It is. When I have people, there's a reason I don't do SOPs, is because I know my head and I know what I do. And so I have people break it down at the most basic level, line by line. And I know my juniors and my mid-tier people are still capable, right? They haven't gotten into bad habits. They're not at this level of like, oh, well, we're going to rate it in the most. No. I don't want it in the most technical terms. I want it written in crayon. I want this thing at the most basic level. That way, no matter who comes in, they can do your job.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. And as we talk about soft skills and people skills, I also want to touch on leader skills.
Yeah.
You want people to be able to replace you, because you can't move up. You can't take PTO. You can't do these things if somebody can't do your job.
Yep.
Which means at a mid-tier level or a lower level, you cannot take PTO or you don't, most people in cybersecurity don't feel comfortable taking PTO. If somebody can't do your job too, how am I going to do your job if your documentation is trash? My comments and my own code have been trash. I have literally written programs and been like, oh yeah, these are my comments. This is what I did, da 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 da. And I went back to fix the program, and be like, I'm going to finish this, and go in and go, I don't understand even what I wrote. Like this is garbage. Like I don't understand what I wrote, let alone let somebody else read it and go, oh yeah, I'm like, shit, I gotta fix all this. Like my GitHub repo is trash. Because I look at it, I'm like, I don't even know what I was doing. I got nothing.
I will say, like, not even just like your day to day. I mean, people that even sell products, right? We talked about sales a little bit. Your documentation, to me, right, that's going to be a huge selling point. And especially if your product is costing a couple of commas and a few zeros, right? Like you better have some solid documentation. And I have seen some GitHub repos with better documentation with community driven projects compared to like these very reputable vendors sometimes.
And let's be honest, as much as people want to go to Azure and Sentinel and all that shit right now, look, we're not going to say anything other than the fact that they need to fix their GitHub, because shit changes and they don't tell us.
Yeah.
There's connectors and workbooks and shit that are like, oh yeah, it's here. And then you click the link, 404 does not exist. Homie, let me know. Like, give me a little insight of what you broke. Please tell me you changed something.
And it always makes me wonder, like with release notes and stuff with these changes, you know, what happened with that communication? And
that's give you release
right?
notes,
You know?
like, and again, soft skills, you need to learn to write. In your release notes, please tell me, hey, we removed these GitHub repos for this reason. We no longer support X, Y, and Z. Gotcha. Don't just sit there and be like, hey, 404 does not exist. What?
I think my favorite
it worked a week ago.
My favorite release note I have seen in my entire career, it was a major update. It wasn't like some minor bug fix or whatever. This was a major update. And they had advertised it on Twitter at the time, all these platforms like, hey, be prepared, this is going to be happening. And the release note finally came out and it said feature update. And I was just all like, it's like you had this grand opening for this restaurant and you walk in and it's a single chair and one menu item. That's how I felt. I was so
you're not a bug, you're good to go.
It's the definition. I don't know if you ever watched The Office. It's literally like Dwight going, it's your birthday period. That's how I felt, you know?
But no, like I look at soft skills, and so I was talking to someone earlier today, and I want to touch on this because when we talk about soft skills, you know, we can talk about resumes, we can talk about documentation, we can talk about tech writing all day. But again, like we were talking about earlier, the biggest thing is public speaking. The biggest thing is, here's the thing: we're all salesmen, saleswomen, salespeople, whatever you want to call it. Give it a fucking name. I don't care. To get a job, to get through an interview, you have to sell yourself.
Yep.
Because your resume can do one thing. You can tell me you know, and you are the most amazing person in security and Azure, and you know every tool known to man, and you're the greatest things in sliced bread. But if you can't talk to me and you can't talk to a client, deuces.
Yep.
Sorry. You out.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry, you have to sell yourself. Like, that's just the way it goes. We are all salespeople. Every single one of us.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like public speaking, and Reanna, you've talked at conferences. I've talked at a conference. Pat's talked at conferences. This is what we do. You have to sell yourself and what you're capable of. I think as much as we talk about resumes, we talk about, you know, everything else, social media presence, this, that, the third. Public speaking is the most important skill you're ever going to have.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question about that. So say, for example, we all spoke at conferences, but now we're talking to the person that never spoke at one. How do we get the opportunity to speak at one?
So
Hey, that's what my show's for, because I hate CFPs. I despise CFPs.
I'm still waiting on one that I submitted in January.
So for those people that don't know with CFPs, what are they?
Call for presenters. Or
It's
call
your
for
elevator pitch to get
Whatever you
your
wanna
foot in the
call
door.
Okay.
And really, it's a topic and a few points. Like, I'm sorry. Like, me, I'm the type of person, I'm that guy. I want to be a big enough name that you come to me.
Yep.
I don't want to have to reach out to you. Same way I do a lot of things on my show, right? I put out a lot of ads and like, hey, I want you on this. If you want to be on the show, come on the show. I don't do a CFP. I just say, send me a message that says, hey, I want to be on. Every so often, I run into a kind of a bind, and I'm like, hey, do you want to be on? And it's rare, but it happens.
Very like suspicious link, and it's like, hey, can you fill this out? And I'm all like, who are you?
Right.
I'm a little strong, mate. No, I'm kidding.
Right. Like I'm that type of person. Reach out, gonna be on. But call for papers. I'm just the type of person. I've only ever done one. B-side St. Pete, only conference talk I've ever done, and it's because my talks are resiliency and burnout. It's mental health. It's how we adapt in the industry. That is how I operate, because I'm sorry, Pat, you know more than I do. When it comes to offensive security, when it comes to breaking into shit, you will always know more than I do. So who am I to sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a talk on offensive security? No, the fuck I'm not. The fuck I am. I'm going to tell you how to use Reaver. Like, I can tell you how to break into a Wi-Fi network with Reaver. That's,
Wi-Fi, even automate that shit.
Years.
And I will say, I have sat in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of presentations. Like, I didn't start public speaking until fall of 2022. That was my first conference. And it just kind of tumbleweeded into what it is today. And there have been so many talks. There have been like even vendor supported talks or whatever the case is. The most memorable presentations that I take away is because the speakers are passionate with what they're talking about. You know, you're spending time prepping for this and everything. And it should be a topic you're excited about, because it's going to get other people excited and want to listen and want to understand and have those key takeaways from you.
Anna, you're on the chopping block. Y'all run. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. So like I remember, and now we run the show. So yeah, I remember I did a talk in Romania, B-side Romania, and I remember this was my fourth talk, and every other talk was a very, you're in a room, you just shoot the shit, right?
Yep.
When I went there, and I was thinking the same thing. I was going to talk about how to set up an offensive security lab. If you're broke as a joke, and if you don't have money to, even though you have free 99 versions of Hack the Box and Try Hack Me, but like I always feel as though if you're setting it up yourself, you're getting more experience to learn networking, learning troubleshooting, setting up your infrastructure. So I did a talk on that. And the point of what I'm saying is I've always been in a room with maybe 20 to 50 people. I don't know. When I went there, it was like an auditorium, and there was, I think, 500 people.
And you're like, huh?
Holy shit. I thought I was like, a stand-up comedian, because I never been on like a stage. I was like, holy shit. And literally, like when I walked in the day before, because I helped prep some stuff, and I'm like, where's my room? Where am I going to be doing my?
You're like, this is the keynote area.
It's like a keynote, exactly. And after that experience, like after I got through that, I'm like, oh shit, like I think I can do this, because that was always my fear, right? Getting through like the because even though like what you're talking about, you're passionate about your topic, but at the end of the day, it's like you don't know if you're being judged. You don't know like if like you fuck something up, like like if I'm saying something, it's like, oh, like I just, said something out of the blue, and like, does that even make sense? So it's like, you always have that self-doubt. And I think breaking through that, or if you ever break through it, because I think always, we're always our own worst critic, right?
Yes.
So, and I think comparing yourself too is no bueno. Like if you see someone that's doing, so many talks or whatever, don't be like, oh, I need to be like that person. No, stay in your own lane and be like you.
That fear of missing out, that FOMO feeling,
Well, and see, on that note, though, that's also why. So, look, I look at people like yourself, Pat,
Yeah.
and KevTech, and so many others, right? Tiberius, and all these people that have done technical videos, technical talks, and all this other stuff. I don't want to be like you guys because I live that life, right? I want to be the Chris Cochrans or the Pat Gormans or whatever. I want to be those, and then I realize I cannot live my life trying to be like somebody else. I have to be me. And so for me, when I do my talks and when I do this show and when I do everything else, a lot of what I always try to relate things to is mental health, is to how we come up in the career field, is how we do things and how burnout affects us, how soft skills affects us, how everything like that, right? So how we can sell ourselves, how we can be better as people. And that is because as much as I know technically, I know people that know more than me technically that will do talks on this better than me.
Yeah.
So it isn't that I don't know it. It's just that I know that my tech talks are not the same as Pat's.
Yeah.
My tech talks would not be the same as a Tiberius, as anybody like that.
Yeah.
So me, I'd hit on some things, but then I would literally be blown away by people being like, actually, homie, so you missed X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, shit, you're right. Whereas when it comes to resiliency, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to burnout, these are things that I have prided myself on knowing about over the years because I lived it. There are things that I have lived. I have not done what Pat has done. I've not been a bug bounty hunter. I've not been in pen testing and offensive security and red teaming for 30 plus years. I've not done any of these things. And so for me, I have lived being in cybersecurity, having like 7 shows a week, doing a bunch of content, burning yourself out, and not wanting to do shit in the industry anymore. So for me, I know resiliency and burnout. I don't know the tech that other people do.
Yeah.
In a way that they do.
Yeah.
I can still do the damn job. I'm still damn good at it. But there are still people out there better than me. And I allow those that are better than me to present the topics that are better than I can present them. And it's just
and another thing is like when I first started kind of my journey, right, you get your first job and whatnot. If you had asked me 3 years ago if I would be doing conferences or a podcast or, anything, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. Like that, no, that's not me. No, I'm okay, like doing the 9 to 5, going home, seeing my dog. And eventually, you kind of go on LinkedIn and you see other people's journeys, right? You're seeing like Mike Miller or Philip Wiley or even Chris, right? And you're like, holy cow, like these people are doing all these things. And my journey into public speaking, it was my first conference. It was a local B-Sides in Kansas City. And I wasn't a fan of public speaking. I didn't care about public speaking, but I was like, I'm just going to try it, right? What's the worst case? I don't get accepted. And, oh darn, I tried, So I submitted my paper and I didn't make the first cut. And I was like, oh no, 2 more rounds, I'm like, how dare I, take this chance? And then I get the email. I was like, oh, congratulations, you've been accepted. I was like, what? And I was like, okay, and I'm like, I gotta make slides. I gotta know my slides, and I'm going through this. And then I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna be, the Mike Miller of cybersecurity, and like you start getting like this fear and everything. And then I went up for my first talk. And I was literally shaking on the mic, and it's on YouTube somewhere. So if someone like ever creeps and looks up Reanna Schultz B-Sides Kansas City, you'll find it. And I'm just like this talking, pretending I know like what I'm doing. And at the very end, I was like, okay, like I didn't spit on anyone. I didn't fall down. Like I didn't throw up, like all these irrational fears in my head about public. I didn't like.
It was naked in my mind, but we're good to go.
And of course, like now I watch and I was like, oh my God, I was terrible,
So what was your first talk on?
It was about security education and security awareness, right? I like how to build a program. I don't do that for my day-to-day job. I just presented on it. And one of the key takeaways was I had someone come up to me at the end of the conference and they're like, hey, come speak at this conference in 2 months. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, like,
damn it, I wish somebody would do that for me. You know what? It's because you are a better speaker than I was. Got it. I'm an asshole. You're not. It kind of fits. It makes sense. Okay, got it.
I was like, are you sure? You know? And by, you know, that's what started my journey. And one of the things I realized, especially, you know, that was 22. That was October of 2022. 2023 comes. And I'm like, why not? We'll try a different state. We'll get out of the community a little bit. And but like, that's scary. That's scary to put yourself out there. That's scary to take these risks and make yourself vulnerable. But one thing I learned about like my journey and highlighting what you said, I wasn't a Mike Miller. I wasn't a Philip Wiley. I was Reanna Schultz. And who I was, right, is my brand and who I am as a person. And heaven forbid, right, if I inspired someone to go take that chance and just find out who they are with their journey in the industry, right, that's a win for me. And I hope like I've done that, and hopefully someone has gone out there and just made themselves vulnerable to find out who they are and, you know, this so said field.
Yeah, definitely. And you said something, right? And it's something we've talked about. I've talked about so many times, right? You got to be an individual. You got to be yourself. You got to break your own glass ceilings. You got to go above and beyond what you think you could ever do. Yeah. And one thing, and I got 2 questions here that we need to answer. But before I do, I just want to say this. Just like our muscles, right? When we're working out, when we're doing things, and one of the things I was taught in the military is your mind is more powerful than your body if you let it. Meaning, if you think you can't do one more push-up, or if you think you can't do this, you're right. But if you tell yourself, I can and I will, then you will. So what you tell yourself is always going to be correct. If you tell yourself, I can't do this, I can never talk in front of people, I can't do one more push-up, I can't do whatever, you're right, you can't. Because you told yourself you can't. But if you say, I can and I will, then you can and you will. The mind is a very powerful thing, and it actually truly dictates how our lives go. It really does. But on that note, infinite improbability AI, one of my buddies, love him to death, star and AR. At what point up the food chain do soft skills become more important than hard skills?
Man, you hear you don't have to be technical to be in leadership, right? Or hey, it helps put you be a more marketable person to have softer skills than hard skills. Me personally, soft skills should always be important, regardless if you're technical or not. So if you're an intern, if you're an entry-level analyst, right, it should be crucial that you have these. Even like when you go and job interview, right? You know, we highlighted be yourself. This is who you are. This is who your brand is. And if you're going in and you did all of this interview prep for these technical skills, and you know, you go in and they're like, hey, can you explain what a phishing attack is? Well, it's this. Okay, can you name a time that maybe you worked in a group project and you didn't enjoy the people you worked with? And it's just kind of like, I didn't prep for that, you know? But again, if you're just yourself in these interviews, it's going to help the hiring team because they're going to hire what's a culture fit at the end of the day. You can hire technical anywhere, but having that good culture fit is going to not only benefit you, but it's going to benefit the team because you might be unhappy with how everyone is. You know, that's just the reality of it.
What about you, Pat?
No, I think the same thing, because at the end of the day, we're all saying, we're selling ourselves. And, you know, I've done interviews and, you know, we can be super, super technical, like we're just talking about with the whole report writing and SOPs, et cetera. And just, you know, conveying that soft skill set, you know what I mean? Like if you're not able to, you know, to speak to someone, it's like you said before, deuces, right? It's like you can't even have a basic conversation with us and we're just, you know, on 2 different paths and we're not going to align. So I think that's super, super important.
Yeah, and for me, you know, I used to say, and it goes back to kind of like certifications and things like that. CISP to me was always a management cert, right? It's I got to be in management, so I want to get my CISP because it's, you know, a mile wide, an inch deep. I got a little bit of everything, and so it was business enablement. It was like, oh, I got to be able to talk to CEOs, CIOs, CISOs, da da da. But the more I've gone along in my career, the more I've realized I had to sell myself. Like, I've looked back and people are like, how do I get a job? How do I do da da da? Look, if you can't interview well, if you can't sell yourself to me, if you are not personable, if you don't have this type of personality that's going to mesh with the rest of the team, you're not getting hired. And it's one of those things, like, I'm the type of person that you're either going to take me for me or you're not. I don't care. Like, and again, it's because I am me. I'm not some robot. I'm not some, you know, schmo off the street. I am me. I have a personality. I have an identity. I am who I am. And so for me, it's soft skills from the beginning, selling yourself from the beginning. And I used to think differently. I did for years. I thought, oh, you know, once you hit like mid to senior level and you got to interact with CIOs and CEOs. No. Because now that I'm in management, now that I got to hire people, if you don't get along with me, and I get along with most anybody, if you don't get along with me, we got issues and we got problems. Like, seriously going to have issues. But it's just how it is. Why not have raids on Twitch? I barely use Twitch.
Yeah. I don't even know how to use it.
Don't know what raids are. Know nothing about Twitch. I literally just use it for another platform. From Whole Cyber Human Initiative, and this is for you, Reanna. Did you get thrown into speaking or have a mentor push you?
I did not have a mentor, and it's kind of ironic now because I do mentor other people, right? Get into speaking and kind of just talk about how I got into it. And again, mine was a complete, I want to challenge myself this year. And, you know, you have those social media influencers to kind of inspire you and, you know, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. And it's scary. It's super scary your first time just putting yourself out there. And I've made mistakes throughout my speaking journey, whether it's how I present data on a slide or thinking I have to read from a slide. And it's, you know, as you continue on it, you realize your PowerPoints or whatever presentation you have is more for the audience than it is for your public speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Your speaker should know their content, right? It's something they're excited to talk about. It's something they're passionate about. It's something they want to share. And I always say, at least with the cybersecurity community, it's wonderful how many people are just, hey, I have a question. How did you do this? And it's just an immediate response, right? We always grow and learn from one another. And that's what I really enjoy about
we
this
hope
community.
to. There are assholes out there, to be honest. There are assholes out there.
Yeah.
We've all had struggles. But yeah, you know, and when I do my mentor sessions with people, I always ask, hey, you want to get into public speaking? What do you want to talk about? Yeah. What is something that you are excited about? Well, I'm excited about AI. Okay, well, what about AI? Well, I'm excited about doing this and this and this with AI. Okay, let's see what we can do with that and what can we teach someone else about this. And that's the whole point of these sessions, is giving back to our community in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? And giving back. This is why we have B-sides. This was the initial reason behind DEF CON and Black Hat. Was giving back. Now it has changed. Everything's become commercialized. It's all been vendors and sponsors and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, you got to think about the original concept and why things came about. And it was giving back to the community. Do things change? Yeah. Because guess what? If I can make a buck, I'm going to make a buck. That's literally what it comes down to. Money runs the world. Whether or not we like it, it's fucking true. I can't pay my power bill off a like on this video. I can get other people watching it that may eventually pay the power bill, but I can't pay it off a singular like, right? So You know, when we look at all these things, and I look at the way we live our lives in cybersecurity, the things that we do, and so many people that are so hesitant to do talks, so many people that don't want to sell themselves, so many people that just are very hesitant to do much of anything. I believe wholeheartedly in mentors. I tell people, find a mentor.
Yep.
But I also tell people to know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because the first question anybody asks me, if I'm going to be your mentor, if they say, hey, I want to get into cybersecurity, how do I do it? What field? Where at? What do you want to do?
I always start with why.
Yeah.
Like, look,
why?
I'm all for make your money and make your bag. But at the same time, you have to have a reason and you have to have something you actually want to do.
Yep.
Because if you want to get into cybersecurity, what do you want to do? Do you want to be on blue team, red team, purple team, green team, GRC? Like, what the fuck do you want?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, just cybersecurity. That helps me not.
Yeah.
Go do some research first.
Yeah.
Go on try hacking for a couple of weeks, you know?
Right? The reason I'm that guy and I'm that asshole is because when I came up in IT, my sysadmin, my server admin, Robin, love her to death. She was one of the best mentors I could have ever had in the industry. She was a server admin for my guard unit. And if I went to her, I knew she had tribal knowledge. I knew she knew how to fix just about anything that went wrong in our network. And I'd be like, hey, Robin. And I would literally walk up to her. Hey, I got this issue. Did you look it up? Did you research it? Did you figure it out?
No.
Nope. Leave. Go. Because it was about finding the answers. Yep. If you can't find the answer to your own question and you rely on other people, you're never going to find the answer to your life. You're never going to find the answer to anything. How do you know you? How do you know anything? You've never done any looking. If you've never researched anything.
Everyone just wants the easy way. And that's the way the world, but I guess this generation too, instead of like, when we grew up, it's like, I think it was just a different time. You know what I mean? It's like now it's like everyone just expects things handed to them. Like they think they're fucking gold or something. I don't know, but it's so different today.
Yeah. And I'm real big on, again, and me and Reanna, Pat, before you joined prior to, we had a discussion. I had a discussion with somebody earlier, right? Everybody's looking for that group that I need to belong. I need to be I need to follow somebody to get into here. One of the things that people need to realize about me and realize about how I go about and do business and help anybody along is this. If you need a group, if you need somebody to show you belong, you're wrong. Break the glass ceiling on your own. Be the first. If you like no one else has done it, be the first. Be the leader. Be the representative. Quit being scared to take that step. If you need somebody to get you ahead, that means you're not willing to fight. You need somebody to fight for you. Be that fighter. You see around here, I call everybody my warrior. My warriors, we fight. We will live and die to fight for everything we want. We will get where we want because we deserve it and we belong. Be that warrior. Don't let somebody fight your battles for you. Fight them for yourself. You think, oh, I can't do this unless I have somebody else do it for me. No. Do it yourself. You can make it because you belong here. And sell yourself. You got skills, you got talent, you got research, you got everything on your side. You have the world, literally the world at your fingertips. There is no excuse for not being able to learn, understand, and grow. No excuse. The excuses are gone. Fight for it, earn it, and make it. And I stand by that. I will stand 10 toes down on that. You don't need a group. You need you. You need to believe in yourself. Sell yourself. You want soft skills? Believe in who you are. Be that arrogant asshole and believe in you. Hands down every day of the week.
Si, senor.
I'm that guy. What can I say?
That's
Reanna, We are well over the top of the hour. We're at 8:05. So before I let I want to let you talk again because I go on my rants. I'm sorry. It happens. It's my show. Fuck them all. Please, any advice you can give to anybody, soft skills, anything, breaking into the industry, that's what the show's all about, helping others break in. Please let them know.
Yep. Take that risk. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to fail. It's your journey. And others learn from your journey. That's how you become that leader. That's how you become that mentor for those around you. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, and I totally follow that. Like I'm totally in line with that. Just have your own journey. Just like how Derek says all the time. Like I'm the same way. I don't get, I try not to curse sometimes, but sometimes, especially if I get worked up, I always say I have to put like my, my professional voice on, not like really my New York voice. Because if I get worked up, that's
it's
like
my show. Fuck it. Go for it, homie.
Like, and that's what something I would tell myself about a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years ago. Like I was in a place for almost 6 years, and I'm like, oh man, like if I say fuck, and fuck is such a word that I use. It's like a normal word. It's like, yo, yeah, I'll be home in a minute. Yeah, fuck. I just need to go run in the store real quick. Like I don't think about it as a bad word. So it's like I was thinking now I'm putting content out there. Now, like if I'm applying for a position, they see me, is that unprofessional? And at the end of the day, I used to think, okay, like right at that moment, I'm doing my thing. This is mine. You don't have to come on my channel and look at my shit. Like stay in your own lane if you don't want to know anything, like that has nothing to do with me as a professional working at your workplace. That's, whatever I do after hours is my own business, So that's what I think, like, that's my advice is do you and, fuck them all.
Dude, hands down, here's the thing, right? My final advice going off air, and again, Reanna, feel free to stay behind. We'll talk some more, is be yourself. Right. Every job I ever get, everybody I ever talk to, I'm me. I'm not going to change me. I may alter my verbiage. I may not swear when I'm on a client call. Yeah. Even though I want to. And even my own, employees can tell you I have literally killed my camera and killed my mic because I've literally sat there at my computer going, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you on several occasions, but didn't want anybody to hear it. But here's the thing. When you're public speaking, when you're doing you, that's your personality. That's who you are. I want to know you as a person. And me personally, this is my show, my channel. Can't nobody do anything to me. I'm going to say what I want. This is me. So if you want me unfiltered, unadulterated, whatever, this is who I am. And I say the same thing to everybody. If you're going to do anything, be you and be fully you. If I interview you, don't curb who you are. I want to know who you are. I want to know your hobbies, your likes, your loves, your hates, your despises. I want to know everything because I want to know who you are as a person and what you bring to the team, what you bring to the table. I want to know that you're going to fit because guess what? We may say some fucked up shit in chat. That shit may happen. Yeah. I want to know whether or not you can handle it because if you can't, I don't need you going and be like, oh my God.
They cursed today.
And I was so mad and I gotta quit now. Then I just lost a team member. No, I need to know whether or not you're gonna fit. And that goes for anybody. I need to know that we're a team and we got each other's backs. I got your 6 always if you got mine. Plain and simple. I love everybody. And at the end of the day, look, this is the last thing I'll say. And then we got to go because it's well over the top of the hour. And I just saw my wife leave her leave to go pick up my son. You're all my warriors. You're all my family. Everybody that tuned into this episode, please tune in again next week because we're here every week, every Friday, live, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I am the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios. Thankfully, this evening, I have the one and only Pat Gorman, InfoSec Pat. If you do not follow his YouTube channel, please go do so. If you have not seen Reanna talk in person, please go find out where she's talking next. Hit her up on LinkedIn. Her connects are in the description of the YouTube episode, LinkedIn, and everywhere else. Go find out. Otherwise, look, I love you all. all my warriors, all my family. And I'll talk to you all next week with another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.